So, as Jerry would say, the most important part of the week, as Warren would also agree, the most important part of the week, we're going to be looking at some amazing stuff from the indies out there in the world. So, do you want me to do it, or are you going to go for it, Warren?
Do you know what? I'm not feeling very well, mate. I've been down all week. I know you're not feeling very well either, but you're much more sultry than me. So please,
Sure.
you do it, and I will just wang.
So, well, join us for Indie of the Week. Oh. And the indie for this week is one that I searched through the annals of OnTableTop history, and I'm fairly sure we talked about them, but I think we've talked about them in the news rather than them as an indie. So we're going to be diving in and talking a little bit more about Victrix Miniatures / Victrix Games / Victrix Limited, because they do amazing stuff. And over the last little while, they've actually been updating a lot of their range with new releases and different scales and all sorts of different things like that. Some of which will be very familiar to Lloyd, who's been playing around with small scale stuff in World War II. But I thought it'd be worth diving in.
Which I talked about in the XLBS show on Sunday.
Which we do talk about in XLBS. So make sure to dive in and watch that. But yes, let's dive in and start looking at what Victrix have to offer. So Victrix are a purveyor. I love that word. A purveyor of plastic miniatures in 28mm for the majority of their range, and they cover a whole host of different periods of history. So a lot of their focus initially was around the idea of like Napoleonics and stuff, but they've also started doing stuff for the Ancients period through to the Dark Ages, and they've also got World War II as well.
It's weird because they were all Napoleonics, but if you look at this page now, there's no
Napoleonics on it.
Just a touch. That's it.
Yeah,
just a dab of Dragoon.
Yeah, pretty much. So basically, we can choose a period and go for it. Should we go with Ancients to begin with?
Yes, please. Yes, please. I've got a real ancient thing going on at the moment. I think I've been watching that whole ancient alien stuff again. It's got me going. Got me going.
You mean the History Channel?
Not aliens, but aliens.
Aliens, yeah. So they, as you can see, they have a massive selection. Just pick whichever you want and open things, Lloyd. Go for it and have fun. Pick whatever you like, really. But yeah, so one of the things that's really nice about the stuff that comes out of Victrix is very similar to what we see from the likes of the Perrys and stuff, is that they do big chock-a-block plastic kits. So they do them with, more than your standard kind of 10 models per side that you normally get in sort of like a Games Workshop kit or something like that. And the other thing that's really nice about the stuff that Victrix do is that it is so incredibly detailed. Everything that they do is incredibly well researched, and they go back through, reference documents and all sorts of different things and all sorts of books and look at how it's been represented in, artwork and all that kind of thing. And they'll bring together fascinating kits that you'll be able to assemble in a whole variety of different ways in order to bring together big, chunky armies on the tabletop. And what's quite nice is that they tend to do very much the basics of everything you could kind of want. So, for example, with the Romans, you've got pretty much all of the legionnaires and sort of skirmishers and that kind of stuff that you'd ever really want to be playing around with in your games. And, sort of hitting all of those kind of notes that a lot of people will like if they enjoy that kind of Hollywood vibe for their games as well. So hitting that kind of classic Roman look with the big square shields, just the segmentum armor and that kind of thing, and the gladiuses, and then you've got the Goths and the barbarians and stuff as well. So it's a really nice little selection of stuff that I know a lot of people will pick up and use in their games across, a variety of different rule sets and stuff like that.
Well, look, we've all seen Romans before.
Romans.
Okay? So we've done Romans. They're cool. They look like dwarves.
They are cool.
They're like Roman dwarves.
I mean, look at that
old dude in the back with the head on a stick. What on earth what is that product called? I got to have me one of those.
The Celtic chariots with.
Oh, they're not Romans then. They're Celts. That's why they look like dwarves.
Well, there's Boudica.
A Boudica as well, or a Bodicea.
Bodicea. Bodicea. Or Andrea, as I call her. Right, go back to the page with all of the options, right? Now,
which options? All the ancient options.
Yes, all the ancient options, right? Let's see if there's anything in here we've never seen, right? So Balearic,
the Greek archers and the Balearic stuff is pretty cool.
Yeah, Balearic slingers. So they must be slinging their Balearics all over the place. So if you scroll down, There, see that big yellow Balearic slingers? He just looks like a boxer, really. Numidian cavalry?
The Macedonian cavalry.
That's kind of interesting. Keep going down. Let's see if they tucked away the really interesting stuff. So Germanic warriors, we know, because we unleashed hell upon them.
The Iberian warriors are pretty nice as well, and the Carthaginians are quite
And
nice.
then there's hoplites, and then if you keep going down, there's the Macedonians and the Persians. So now we're starting to get into the whole kind of 300 Thermopylae kind of thing.
Pretty much.
And then we've got the Dacians.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going. No Israelites. Well, we're not done yet.
Knights and stuff though, so
we're not done yet.
That's now we're done.
Yeah. No,
they did the box sets and stuff for Clash of Spears and things like that, which is quite nice.
I have these guys.
Have you got these Balearics? Yeah.
Oh, that's a tiny picture.
He has those very tiny, but
yeah.
You've got tiny Balearics, Lloyd.
Yeah, because of Jerry, he bought me a Clash of Spears box set.
He
which
did.
Uses
he bought you an army,
stuff.
hoping you'd play the game with him.
Yeah, I have it half painted. Give me some slack.
Okay. Yeah.
I remember seeing a documentary where they were talking about them, and they actually found one of the, whatever the stone was they threw from the sling.
Oh, the
whoever had thrown it, yeah.
We found one of their Balearics.
All right, yeah,
fossilized, yes.
Well, the interesting thing was they had actually carved on the side of it, whoever slung it, take that.
They were into pop music and boy bands even all the way back then.
No, as in, what, take that! Oh, did I actually just get Lloyd to do a spit take? Yes, result.
No, that needs cleaned. No, I have to clean that.
And now we have a swish.
And we're back.
I mean, whoopsie.
Yes. So, picking up where we left off.
I just thought it was kind of an interesting thing. That
the little Balearics, they found a Balearic, and on the Balearic was inscribed a boy band name that goes, okay, that's brilliant. That is brilliant.
I think what's quite nice about
interesting.
That is that, for example, those two kits that we just looked at, so the Balearic Slingers and the Numidian Cavalry as well, that's Victrix filling in some of the gaps that gets left by a lot of things. So a lot of the time you'll think like, oh, Roman army's just made up of Romans, but in actual fact they had so many kind of auxiliary that fought alongside them and things, and so picking up those kind of kits is great for sort of sliding them in alongside your Roman army to essentially give you some interesting things to paint alongside your classic sort of Roman army, because at some point you're going to get a little bit bored of painting metal and red and gold, and so having the option to paint other types of troops I think is a really nice way to go. So
this is what terrifies me about even considering doing a Roman army is everything is so regimented, everything is so uniform, even down to like poses and stuff, because a lot of times in like pictures whenever you see them ranked up, identical pose, everything's the same, might as well just be a clone of the same guy. Having to paint the same miniature maybe 50, 60, 100 times, I'm sorry, I cannot, I will not, I refuse.
Well, one of the nice things about some of the stuff that they've done for some of their later kits for like the Romans and things, so like I think it shows more in the Dark Age stuff than the Romans actually, is that you get a lot of interesting poses and things in there as well. So I mean they've been designed so that you can rank them up or have them in circles or whatever and use them for saga, whichever way that Jerry would prefer, essentially, which is probably squares. But they've been made more dynamic, and I think these, like particularly these late Roman infantry, are just so cool. And they bring to mind a lot of that kind of classic Arthurian style and stuff. I bring together a little bit of that edge of the mythological alongside the historical, which I think is quite nice. And it means that you can have a lot of fun sort of playing with the idea of like elite Romans, but also then going down the route of maybe being a little bit more personalized with your troops and the sort of how they come together, which I think is probably what you'd be interested in then, Justin, when it came to this. So you're not doing big regimented stuff, but you're doing slightly more loose armies and things at the tabletop. So there's more slingers as well. There you go. So
I like the ones with the staff.
Yes, I think it's very cool. Yeah.
So
The thing is really,
they are gorgeous miniatures. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Right. Let's tick on a little bit. Right. So we're in the Dark Ages now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our Vikings, our Normans, or Dark Ages is kind of Vikings is Dark Ages, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's anything after the fall of it's everything after the retreat of the Romans. From Europe,
the Roman Empire, and then it ends with 1066 essentially. So more or less. So, but they have covered all of the bases. So you have everything you could need for playing out. Large Saxon armies, Viking raiding forces, Norman invading forces as well. And one of the nice things about this is that they've done them in different sizes of packs as well. So they do like the big, large Victrix size packs that they normally do essentially. But then they'll actually do cut down versions of them as well. So if you want to just pick up maybe like a handful of units, maybe 12, 20 models or something, you can do that as well. So you can add them into Saga forces. But again, if you look at the detail on these, it's just phenomenal. I know that a lot of people are a bit weirded out by the chainmail effects that Victrix do, but I think it works quite nicely. I mean, as someone who just wants to have the effect of chainmail, I think it actually works pretty well. And you see that it comes out really nicely when it's painted. It'll be much of a muchness for some people, but
didn't they change that because of all the moaning? I thought they changed it. Yeah, they did.
They changed it for some of their models because they were a bit like, why is everything covered in beehive holes or something?
A lot of people forget whenever you're seeing nice big pictures like this, you're looking for a 3-foot paint job when you're done. So you kind of need the detail that big to be able to pick it out.
Look at that Viking army. Oh my God. So
that is good, isn't it?
It's very much one of these places where you can come, and if you want to get yourself a Saga warband, you can pretty much pick up everything you'd need from it from one set, essentially. So you get everything in one place. We're talking about Saga all the time, but there we go. We've got to get it in there somewhere because
well, we have to use it as an example.
Yeah. And the other things that I think is really nice about this as well is that even with the tunics and things, they've sculpted enough detail into the tunics for you to pick out with highlighting and shading, because you can sometimes get sort of warriors in tunics where it's all just very flat and you have to kind of really work to bring them out, otherwise they're just like big flat panels essentially, because they've got all the twists and the depth and things to the tunics here.
Speed paints and contrast are going to be your best friend on these.
Just
like you just literally look in here.
Yeah,
they've basically been washed or contrast. Yeah,
pretty much.
Washed.
Yeah, it looks like a wash. Yeah,
and it's picking out all the folds and stuff. Like you say, Ben, a lot of minis don't have that much definition, so you have to get in there with the paint and try to make it look defined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. What else have they got then, Lloydie? If you scroll up to the top, what other big categories?
World War II is there. Which of those would interest you, Warren?
Well, let's quickly flick through the Napoleonics just so as we can see. I know they have a huge Napoleonics range, so it's they have everything covered on that.
Yeah, so they've been doing the Napoleonics for a very long time. I remember the first time that I ever went to salute, the big thing from Victrix was Napoleonic troops on the tabletop, essentially. And they've done everything that you could ever really want for building up the Brits and the French and everything else in between as well. So if you're looking to play out Waterloo on the tabletop, they've pretty much got you covered. And again, one of the, it comes with the same amount of detail that you expect from all the Victrix kits. The other thing that's really nice about Victrix, and it's something that I've seen a few other companies start to do now as well, is having dynamic horses. So one of the things that I've always had, there's always been a little bit of a bugbear with me when it comes to cavalry units, is like it looks like they're on parade, but it actually looks like they're properly charging into the heat of the battle, and smashing through ranks of enemies, or chasing people down and that kind of thing. And that's what you want when it comes to
Sean Bean wouldn't stand a chance against them.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't care what square he goes into. Not
I see. Surely there'll be some rundown building that you can sneak into.
Yeah, probably, and just like whisper bastards.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
Right, let's go to this World War II range then. Do we see?
Yeah, so the World War II range is the one that's come out and been developed over the last year or so, maybe 2 years, and sort of come together very, very quickly. So they've decided to go with 12 mil as their scale, which I know a lot of people gripe about, but as Jerry has pointed out, continually whenever we've covered this kind of thing, 12 mil is a scale that works with a heck of a lot of other stuff. So, it's not like you're going to be losing out to playing 12 mil, essentially.
Yeah.
But they have done large armies for the Germans, the Brits, the Americans. They've started work on the Soviet stuff now as well. So Shay will be happy, which is always nice.
Soviets is the latest stuff.
Soviets is the latest stuff.
They're looking sweet.
Oh yeah, they're looking good.
I think I might have a look at some of this from my train layout that I'm doing. If you haven't seen the XLBS, I'm looking at a train layout in around the sort of scale that you could play Flames of War on.
Yeah.
So I might look at these because they might be a better match to the trains.
Do you know what, Lloyd? That 12 mil is good. If that's 12 mil, if 12 mil equates to 144 scale, that's a common model aircraft scale. If I remember
what works
correctly.
for all this sort of like airfixy stuff and everything.
You could do some airfields and things then, maybe.
Even in Flames of War, 144 is what they use for the aircraft. Because aircraft are actually quite big. So in terms of ground scale, they don't use the actual 1/100 scale aircraft. Otherwise, they'd be gigantic compared to,
where is the man who is following the man with the rifle?
It's probably in here somewhere.
Asking for a friend.
The other thing that's really nice about this stuff, again, is that it doesn't sacrifice on the detail. It's still Victrix levels of quality. So they've gone in and they've been like, well, we're going to make troops in 12 mil, but we're not going to give them big head, big hand syndrome. We're going to make them feel like
the proportions do look better on these. Well, different on these. I'm not going to say better. They do look a bit more.
And they're a little closer to true skill.
Yeah. And you get a lot in the pack. I mean,
you get a lot of them.
That's 30 quid and you get like enough basic loot. Hold on.
184. That's like a full 184, man.
Yeah.
For 30 quid, you're done pretty much.
Yeah.
That's like
buy that and off you go.
That's like going to pick up some of your old army men from back in the day or something.
But you can see there's a list there of all the different types. So it's not just 184 riflemen.
You've got your heavy weapons teams, your specialists. With the US, you've got your SMGs, your bazookas, your Thompsons,
mortars,
and mortar teams, and everything like that. Yeah. And you've got them in different stances as well. So you have your machine gun team running across the battlefield, and then you have it set up so you can do what I like doing, which is having that dynamic change between the two. So you have them running along, and then when they're set up, you change the models out for the other ones where they're all set up. I think it's quite nice. Totally unneeded, but it's very cool nonetheless. But
and the beauty of that particular scale is if like me, you are do the World War II airfield.
What were you saying? Because you cut out there for a minute.
I was saying you could do a World War II airfield.
Yes, you could.
And stick like one of the Avro Lancaster bombers and stuff on it, as a real centerpiece, with your Spitfires or Hurricanes or whatever all lined up. With your aircraft hangars, your 10 huts and stuff like that there, I think it'd be amazing. I just think it would be, you could do the whole Operation Sea Lion kind of assault on.
You could do,
coming in on the south coast of
Britain. Just need a dad's army in 12 mil and then away.
Right. Let's move on. I want to look at one more aspect of the site because I had noticed that it said something like modeling or something up there on that menu. I don't know if there's anything in there, but it's if we can have a look at that and see.
It's mostly bases.
Yeah, so they do a bunch of bases that you can use for your armies. But if you scroll down, the things that I really like are the skirmish movement trays.
Sabats.
Yeah, so it's easy enough to get your hands on those. They're a thing that a lot of other companies make and everything like that. But I think in games like Ancients and stuff and Dark Age, where you potentially are moving larger forces of men, picking up some of these to go with your Victrix stuff, I think is probably quite a good idea. Especially if you want to delineate between kind of big ranked up forces of Romans and then a set of skirmishers at the same time, using stuff like this is quite a nice way to go. But it's not a massive thing, but it's a nice little sort of addition that they've thrown in there as well. They also do like all the transfers.
Ooh, 20 mil round bases. This works for me. I must have a look at this.
There we go. Oh my God, we found something. Lloyd can do some shopping.
better than your 3D movement trays.
Yeah, better than 3D movement trays, that's for sure. Yes.
Well,
sandwich.
There we go.
I like that. That's cool.
that is our indie of the week. We are going to take a swish, and when we come back, Ben will be taking us through the news.